You know, life has a funny way of testing us, not with gentle nudges but with storms, and sometimes those storms aren't outside, they're inside. They're the doubts we carry, the fears we hide, the invisible walls we've built, telling ourselves, this is where I belong, this is my limit. But let me tell you something. There are no limits except the ones you choose to believe in. I've been there. I've been told I was too much or not enough, too ambitious, too loud, too different. And for a long time I wore those labels like shackles, but here's the truth, those chains, they're not locked. They're waiting for you to realize you have the key. Every scar, every setback, every rejection, they are not proof that you can't. They are proof that you must. Breaking the chains isn't just about escaping something. It's about stepping into something bigger, into the version of you that you've been too afraid to meet. The version that speaks even when your voice shakes. The version that dares even when the world says don't. You see, you are not here to fit into a mold. You are here to smash it, to turn whispers into roars, to rise so unapologetically that your very existence becomes a revolution. So today, I'm not just asking you to break the chains, I'm daring you to walk away from the prison of fear, from the weight of other people's opinions, from the ghost of who you used to be. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the real you, unchained, unafraid, unstoppable. We live in a world where most prisons don't have bars, they have expectations, they have stereotypes, they have the soft but deadly weight of other people's opinions pressing against your chest, they have the silent rules that tell you how to behave, how to dream, how to live, and if you're not careful, you start to obey these rules without ever realizing you've been chained. Your invisible prison might be made of fear, the kind that whispers you're not ready or you're not worthy. It might be built from your past mistakes, each one a brick in the wall around you, or maybe it's made from comparison. Looking at someone else's life and thinking theirs is better, so yours must be less. You need to understand that the first step to breaking any chain is to see it, to look it in the face and call it by its name. When you name your fear, when you acknowledge your cage, you take away half its power, because suddenly you're not trapped in the dark anymore, you're holding a light. It's tempting to think you have to fight the whole world to be free, but the truth is the biggest battle is often with yourself, the voice inside you that says you can't, the voice that convinces you to play small, because playing small feels safe, but safety can be suffocating. The invisible prison feeds on your silence. It thrives when you agree to its limb. It wants you to believe that comfort is happiness, but comfort can be a slow killer, the kind that dulls your fire until you forget you ever had one. But here's the thing. Once you see the prison for what it is, you can start to imagine life beyond its walls, and imagination is the first crack in the chain. When you identify your invisible prison, you start to see that the key has been in your hands all along. Maybe it's in the courage to try one more time after failing. Maybe it's in saying no when you've always said yes. Maybe it's in speaking your truth. Even if your voice shakes, the invisible prison loses strength. Every time you choose, you over fear. Every time you make a move that feels too bold, too wild, too unlike the version of you that others expect. Once you know your prison, you can decide to leave it, not with a grand gesture, but with small acts of rebellion that add up, with choices that scare you but excite you, with moments where you stop waiting for permission to live and start giving it to yourself. That's when you realize freedom was never about breaking out, it was about breaking into the person you were meant to be all along. There comes a moment in life when you realize you have been handing out pieces of yourself without even noticing. Every time you let someone else's opinion decide your worth, every time you wait for approval before you act, every time you believe that your value depends on what you can give rather than who you are slowly giving away your power. It is not always intentional. It starts quietly with a compromise that feels harmless, with a decision that you make just to keep the peace with a dream you put on the shelf because someone told you it was unrealistic. But soon those small surrenders become your normal, and you forget that you were ever allowed to want more. You forget that you were born with the right to choose, the right to create, the right to stand tall in your own truth. Reclaiming your power is not about taking something from someone else. It is about taking back what you unknowingly gave away. It is about remembering that your worth is not negotiable. The world will try to tell you who you are. It will hand you labels to wear like name tags. It will put you into boxes with neat little lids and expect you to stay there. It will convince you that your identity should be built on someone else's definition of success, but here is the truth: you get to define who you are, you get to decide what you will stand for, and what you will walk away from. Your power lies in those decisions, not in the things that happen to you, but in how you choose to respond to them. When you reclaim your power, you stop being a passenger in your own story, you get into the driver's seat, and you don't let fear or doubt touch the wheel, because this is your journey, and you get to set the destination. Reclaiming your power means you no longer apologize for existing too loudly or dreaming too boldly. It means you stop waiting for the perfect time, for the perfect plan, for the perfect approval, and you act from a place of self-belief, even when everything around you says you shouldn't. It is understanding that nobody gets to dim your light unless you hand them the switch. It is realizing that the world's permission is irrelevant when you have already given yourself the authority to rise, to speak, to lead, and to live. Your power grows every time you stand your ground, every time you honor your boundaries, every time you choose authenticity over acceptance. The moment you reclaim your power, you stop asking who will let you and start asking who will dare to stop you, and that shift changes everything. There is a reason why every great story you have ever heard is filled with struggle, because growth never comes wrapped in comfort. It comes disguised as challenge. It comes wearing the mask of fear. It comes in the form of situations that make you want to run back to what is safe. But safe has never created greatness. Safe has never changed the world. Safe has never built resilience. When you embrace discomfort, you are not just enduring pain, you are rewriting your limb. You are proving to yourself that you can survive moments that once felt impossible. You are teaching your mind that fear is not a stop sign, it is a green light that says you are heading in the right direction. Discomfort is a compass pointing toward the places where you will transform the most, the places where the version of you that you have been holding back finally comes alive. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort. They think if they can just stay in familiar territory, they will be happy. But the truth is, avoiding discomfort is avoiding growth. It is like planting a seed and never letting it break through the soil, because the breaking feels too hard. Discomfort is the breaking. It is the stretch. It is the moment when you feel like you cannot go any further, but you do, and in that moment something inside you shifts, something inside you knows you have crossed a line you can never uncross, and that is where power is born. Every time you face discomfort head on, you add a layer to your strength, you add a depth to your character that nothing else can give you, and that becomes the armor you carry into every battle ahead. Embracing discomfort means choosing to step into the unknown, even when every part of you wants to step back. It means saying yes to opportunities that scare you, saying yes to conversations that challenge you, saying yes to dreams that seem bigger than your capacity. It is about making peace with the awkwardness of learning, the frustration of failing, the vulnerability of starting over, and understanding that these are not setbacks, they are stepping stones. You do not need to wait until you feel ready, because readiness is a myth. The people who succeed are not the ones who waited for fear to disappear. They are the ones who felt the fear and kept moving forward anyway. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is your training ground. It is the fire that shapes the steel in you. And once you embrace it, there is nothing in this world that can stop you from becoming unstoppable. Pain is one of the greatest teachers you will ever have. It is raw, it is real, and it refuses to be ignored. It will break you open in ways that no success ever could. But here is the secret buried inside pain. There is a seed that if nurtured can grow into something extraordinary. The problem is, most people run from pain, they hide from it, they numb it, they pretend it is not there. But when you run from pain, you run from the lesson. It carries every heartbreak, every rejection, every failure is a message in disguise, asking you to look deeper, to see the strength you never knew you had. Discover the purpose that was sleeping inside you. Pain is not here to punish you. It is here to shape you, to prepare you for something greater than the life you thought you were meant to live. When you transform pain into purpose, you stop asking why me and start asking what now. You begin to see that your scars are not marks of weakness, but proof of survival, proof that you faced something meant to break you and you are still here. You realize that your story, the one you may be ashamed to tell, could be the very story that saves someone else. You stop seeing pain as the end of something and start seeing it as the beginning of something new, a mission, a calling, a reason to rise. Every time you take the hurt that was meant to silence you and turn it into a voice that speaks, you reclaim the power that pain tried to steal from you. You turn your wounds into weapons, not to destroy but to build. Inspire to heal, transforming pain into purpose, is about alchemy. It is about taking something heavy and dark and turning it into light. It is about choosing not to let what happened to you define you, but to let it refine you. It is about making a decision that your story will not end with suffering, but with strength. When you live this way, the pain that once felt unbearable becomes fuel. It becomes the fire that keeps you moving forward. When the road feels long, when the night feels endless, you realize that pain has given you a gift that comfort never could, the gift of resilience, the gift of empathy, the gift of unshakable will. And once you own that gift, you become unstoppable, not in spite of your pain, but because of it. Living unapologetically means waking up every day and deciding that you will not shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never built for your light. It means understanding that you were not put on this earth to be universally liked. You were put here to live fully, to dream boldly, to make an impact that feels authentic to your soul. Yet most of us have been trained to edit ourselves, to soften our voices, to dim our shine, just so others feel comfortable around us. But every time you apologize for your ambition, every time you hide your joy, every time you hold back your truth, you are giving away pieces of your freedom. Living unapologetically is not about being reckless, it is about being real. It is about owning who you are without seeking validation, and understanding that your worth was never meant to be up for debate. When you live unapologetically, you give permission to others to do the same. You become a mirror reflecting back to them the possibility of a life without constant self-censorship. Your confidence becomes contagious, your authenticity becomes magnetic. People will not always agree with your choices, they will not always understand your path, but that is not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for making your life palatable for others, you are responsible for making it meaningful for yourself. Living unapologetically means choosing authenticity over acceptance, courage over comfort, passion over predictability. It means making peace with the fact that not everyone will clap for you, and doing it anyway because your applause should first come from within. This is the way you break free from the invisible chains that have kept you playing small. You stop seeking the spotlight and instead become your own light. You stop waiting for the right moment. Realize the right moment is the one you decide to take. You stop saying, maybe one day, and start saying, today. You speak. Even when your voice shakes, you stand tall. Even when the ground beneath you feels unsteady, you walk into rooms not wondering if you belong, but knowing you do because you chose to show up as yourself. The world doesn't need a watered-down version of you. It needs the raw, real, fearless you. Living unapologetically is the ultimate act of freedom because it means you are no longer negotiating with your destiny. You are claiming it with both hands and refusing to let go.